Great. So, how are you guys doing today? So, why don't we just get right into it? It's more questions. We have a three-part question here. So, let's go right into these questions. Question number one is, okay, what is awareness and what is the higher self? And Mark, what is a chosen one? And how can chosen ones interact with regular individuals since we are more aware of our higher self and aware of how the matrix and reality works? Okay, that's a good question. So let's break them down. All right. So what is awareness first? So I'll begin with this question for you. All right. If the voice in your head is you, then who is the one listening to it? I repeat it. So important. Think about it. If the voice in the head is you, then who is the one listening to it? All right. That is awareness. See, awareness is what we call consciousness. It creates and binds all things together. And I'm going to tie that in with the higher self. So, awareness has no beginning, no end. It just is. So, if you think about you, you're aware. Even when you're not aware, you will always be aware somewhere else. You may not be aware to someone that knows you, like say it exists in a three-dimensional world, but you will split off into another reality or another world. This is according to quantum physics. This may sound shocking to you. Your brain might can't conceptualize this, but this is what the physics says. So awareness is always there. That's the first part. The next part is, what is the higher self? The higher self is that awareness part of you. And the lower self is the thoughts you're listening to. It's tied into your ego. So you are not a part of the mind. The mind just is around you. You are the observer of the mind. Once you get that, you become into your higher self. Now the thing about the higher self works this way. This is how all this stuff works. So imagine there's this big ocean, and then we take little drops and then we put it in a little cup. And the cup, say the cup is you, it's Mark, Janet, Felix, John. It's big ocean. So we take a little drop, put it in each cup. That becomes your individualized, what we call self in this 3D reality. But everything comes from that big ocean. So if you go back into the big ocean, you're part of that big ocean. That's how consciousness and awareness works. That's how your higher self works. It breaks off from the ocean into a little drop and then takes that drop and becomes you to experience what we see as a 3D reality, or what we call 3D world. Now, the thing about the higher self is the consciousness. It sees everything because remember, there is no beginning, there is no end. So everything is already played out. This is why it can help you to navigate your life. Now, what is a chosen one? A chosen one are the individuals who receive and understand this. They understand that they are no longer the part of their mind. That is what you call awaken. When you become awakened is when you sit to yourself and say, "Oh my goodness, I'm not the mind. Wow, that voice in my head, it's not me. I could hear it." But we've always been conditioned to believe we are the mind because no one taught us that. It's just like an evolutionary thing in our subconscious, and our mind just grasps that. And the reason why we're so attached to the mind is because the mind hijacks our own voice. So when it has your voice, you automatically, that's me. But it cannot be you because you cannot be something you can listen to. You are aware of that thing. You cannot be the thing you are observing. You cannot be the thing you are aware of. You have to be above that thing. And that comes into the higher plane. Now, when you get to that level, this is where the reality, or what we call matrix, opens up more. And this is what this individual is asking me: how do you navigate around people? So when you are a chosen one, the conversation and the way you're going to interact with regular individuals will be difficult at first because you're going to be so high in knowledge and understanding. All right? Now, how do you do this? You have to become humble, and you have to have empathy. You have to understand that people around you aren't there yet. So you have to bring yourself down to their level and then put yourself back up. That's how the universe works. The universe works on frequency waveforms. You go up and you come down. You go up, you come down. So whenever you are awakened, you are the higher self. You are the awareness of the universe. You see how that works? Now let me bridge it a little longer so so it can make more sense to you, because people don't understand, like, okay, so I'm this and that, so how do I create all this stuff in my world? All right. So what happens is, through consciousness, right? Your brain doesn't receive or process the information. It processes information, but your brain is a receiver of information. This information, we call it qubits in quantum terms. Information is what the consciousness and universe is made up of. So what happens? Your brain gets information, gets downloaded, then the brain sends that to parts of your mind, such as your subconscious. Predominantly, a lot of it goes into your subconscious, because your subconscious controls 97% of our life. So what happens is, when that information gets into your subconscious processes it, sends it to your conscious observes it, and then your mind comes in and tries to tell you how to do things and where to go. But if you understand that you don't have to listen all the time to the mind, okay? The mind is a tool you are using, so you use your mind as a tool. Now, as a chosen one, what happens is, when you become more aware, this is where your third eye, or we call the pineal gland, starts to open more organically. Because what happens now, you start to process more power. And check this out. Your brain has the ability to tip up to higher levels of higher awareness, higher dimensions. And this was recently discovered. Let me show you something. Up in the brain, there are discovered up to 11 dimensions of processing information. How does it work? The scientists seize these neurons, and what they do, they form these bands, or these little gaps, or little mountains. And then when they process information, they form these different dimensions, and then they disappear. Just to process information up to 11 dimensions. So we are capable of tapping in. This is why you see some individuals that have such high intuition. They have high ability. They got people who can psychic and see stuff. Just because they're tapping into that. But the first thing you have to understand to get to this level is to understand that what awareness is. Awareness is you, the entire universe, experiencing yourself as a fractal. A fractal is a piece of a whole. The whole thing is called a fractal. You take a piece, you can see the same whole. It's like an hologram. Take a piece, you see the whole picture. You are the universe experiencing yourself as John, Mark, Philip, Jessica, whatever it is. And we now know this because we see science. Physics has shown us that. We know this through quantum entanglement now. We know this through the string theory, through what we call quantum loop gravity. Now it's showing us all these things. And these are, I don't have to go into deep detail. I'm doing another video on the science of all this stuff. But quantum entanglement is the big one. We know this through superposition, that everything is a wave. It's a wave before it becomes a real thing. And then now we know that the universe, you know, that telescope they just put up there, the James Webb telescope now, it's seen the universe before the Big Bang. So now we know that the Big Bang, they have to rewrite the textbook. But we all knew this. Ancients knew this long ago, that you cannot create what has already been created. There's nothing to create. There's only things to experience and put yourself into. So let me do a quick wrap up to show you again. Awareness, above the mind, separate from the mind. All consciousness, higher self, part of that. Sends information, brain process, downloads, chosen one. Individuals who are awakened when they realize that they are no part of the mind. They can now use their mind as a tool, and now they can interact with people. And let me show you something about this. The freedom and the power, when you realize that that voice that's been tormenting you or been giving you negative thought, it's not you, and you have the option to put it away. It's freedom. And let me give you some tips on how to do this. Here's what you can do. The mind and the ego. Our minds will come in and give us a lot of negative stuff. Let's say, like, it's called catastrophizing. Your mind will show you the worst thing to happen. So you can talk to the mind just like this. You can say to the mind, hey, but what if it all works out? What if what I'm thinking about, it all works out in the way I want it to work out? You know what the mind will do? The mind will stop catastrophizing and it will start to look at that. Okay? You can also tell the mind, hey, that's not the frequency I want to be on. And you'll change your frequency. Because every time we observe the mind and then we absorb what the mind puts into us, we're going to be on that frequency. So there's different frequencies. You'll get this desperate, feeling down, positive, all that exists. But you can talk to the mind. See, no one tells us to talk to our mind. No one says it. But you have the ability to talk to the mind, and the mind will listen because you are aware of it. So that's what a chosen one is. You're a chosen one because you're aware that you are not the mind, and now you can use your mind as a tool, which will open your mind now, the part of the consciousness known as your pineal gland, to get more information and will level you up. And this is a chosen one. So there you have it, guys. Now you know how to operate. And another tip I want to leave you guys with: once you become aware that all of this is just an experience and it cannot truly affect you, that's when you have the power to manifest more, because now you're in a detached state. Detachment is the secret to manifest anything. Attachment is the block that blocks everything. Once you're detached, and detachment means freedom from the mind. Why is it freedom from the mind? Because here's what the mind does. The mind will always come to you with two things. How are we going to get it? When are we going to get it? That's not your process. That's not for you to figure out. So when you escape the mind and know that I don't care about how or when, I just expect to get it, I know it's coming through faith, that's called detachment. That's when the universe opens up, and that's when you'll start to manifest a lot faster, because now you free a lot of this junk resistance. You're able to get in more abundance information that's going to help you on your journey to manifest whatever you want. Now you got it. Now you can use it.